Hey guys, so I think I have a video figured out finally, but I'm going to be going over the Unit 1 assessment. This is something we did at the very beginning of the year. This is Form B of it to kind of just review all the standards that you've already learned this year. So the first question, I wrote all over this packet trying to record the other 3 or 4 videos I've made. So this is what you're going to have to deal with for this one. So the first question, it's showing a box kind of like this, and we're trying to figure out which statement is true about it. We're trying to find the volume of this box. So remember, the volume is length times width times height. So it says it has 4 layers, and technically you can look at layers going up or going from side to side. So it says 4 layers. Okay, I see 4 in this, up and down. And there's 3 unit cubes in each layer. So this is my first view, actually. So this is the same box as the next row. So I have 1, 2, 3. So A makes sense. It's 4 by 3. It's 12 cubes. 3 layers, which I see here, but with only 2 unit cubes in each layer. Well, that doesn't make sense because I have 4. So B is not right. C says it has 4 layers, which is here, with 2 in each. No, I have 3. So this is also not correct. Has a volume of 4 cubic units. Well, no, because I have 4 just in row 1. It has a volume of 12. Yes, because I have 4, 4, and 4. 4, 8, 12. So that makes sense. And volume of 7 does not make sense. So the answers are A and E. Number 2, area model. So we were actually a lot better at this now than we probably were when we first learned this. We're doing the area model for division. So when we think of area, we're doing length times width. And with division, you know one of your lengths, but you don't know the other. So we're taking this whole, thinking of it kind of being backwards. The area is 800. We know one side is 25. What would the other side be? And I'll show you just the regular way of doing 800 divided by 25 too. But we can think of it as this area model. So I know 25 times 2 is 50. So 25 times 20 is going to be 500. And using area model, it just goes with the numbers that you know off the top of your head in mental math, not having to do so much guess and check. So I know 20 times 25 is 500. I subtract and I have 300 left. Okay, so that comes over here. Well, I know 25 times 10 is 250. And so when I subtract, I have 50 left. So far I have 30. Now I have 50 left over, my last box, and 25 times 2 is 50 with nothing left over. So I have 20 plus 10 plus 2 as my answer, which is 32. Now, I'm going to show you how this looks very similar, if not the exact same as what you do when you do standard math. I could have figured 25 times 3 is 75. So I could have made this 750 instead of 20 and 10. And then I would have just had the 50 left, and I would have had 32 with just 2 partial products instead of, I just went with the numbers that are just like easy in my head. So you could have had 30 plus 2 instead of 20 plus 10 plus 2. I can also solve the regular way with 800 divided by 25, and I would have got the same thing. I would have had to have known 25 times 3 is 75, or I've done some guessing and checking, which is the only thing that I don't necessarily love about this way is because I have to do some guessing and checking on the side. I would subtract, bring down my 0, and 25 times 2 is 32. You're going to get the same answer, but area model is how they asked us to solve that one. Okay, number 3. It says Ian has a storage box in the shape of a rectangular prism. The box has a square base with sides that are 2 feet long, and the height is 5 feet. What is the volume? Well, I know my formula for volume is length times width times height. My problem is, and I remember us having the same problem when we taught this at the beginning, we only have 2 numbers. I have 5 feet for the height, and it tells me the base is 2 feet long, so that's my length. So sometimes you guys were just putting 10, but we know it's a 3D shape, so it has to have a width. Well, if it says the box has a square base with sides that are 2 feet long, the length and the width is your base. So I need to do actually 2 times 2 times 5. So I'm going to get 4 by 5, and that is 20 label as feet cubed. So we know our height was the 5. We know our length was 2, but we know that's just a 2D shape. And for it to be volume, I have to have a width. And my width is also 2 because it says the base is 2 feet long sides. Sides, plural, 2. All right, so 20 feet cubed was for number 3. Number 4, which expressions are equivalent, meaning the same as 427 times 35? So, number A, it says 427 times 3 plus 427 times 5. This would be correct if it said times 30 and then times 5. But the 3 is not just actually 3, it's actually meaning 30, so A is not right. But if you look at D, they do correct it, and they say 427 times 30 plus 427 times 5. That's your partial products. So D is right, A is wrong. On number B, they do what it would look like if it was area model, where they break it down to 400 plus 20 plus 7 and 30 plus 5. And they did 400, so then if you have your lines in here, sorry, it's really hard to write sideways. I have the 400 times the 30. Oh, but they have times 3. So again, if they had this as 30 instead of 3, and 20 times 30 instead of 3, and 7 times 30, B would be right, but they have it all times 3, and this is not 3 plus 5, that'd be 8. It's 30 plus 5. So the B is wrong because they have 3 again. If I keep going with this area model though, I'm going to get 4 times 3, which is 12, with 1, 2, 3, 0. So 12,000 is 400 times 30. 20 times 30 is 600. 30 times 7 is 210. 5 times 400 is 2,000. 5 times 20 is 100. And 5 times 7 is 35. Those numbers are the same numbers as C. They're in a little bit of a different order. They go 12,000, 2,000, 600, 100, 210, 35. But C is the answer to the area model. So that's going to work. We already said D was right. And then E, they did 400 times 35 plus 20 times 35 plus 7 times 35. So this is kind of backwards of partial products, but D or E is also correct. So C, D, and E are all correct. A and B would be right if they had 30 instead of 3. Hopefully that made a little bit of sense. Number 5. Ooh, we hated these at the beginning of the year. So I'm gonna have to show you a little bit of what was on my book or what was on my paper, because I'm not even gonna try to attempt to draw this. So they had, ignore my sketchwork over here. They have this irregular shape, and we know that the first thing you have to do with these irregular shapes is cut it into 2 pieces instead of one weird shape. So I'm going to cut it going down. I'll do the next way next. So I have one long shape and then a shorter shape. So I wrote area equals length times width times height. And for A, just looking at A, my length is going to be right here. And I can't see what that is because I have 10 for the whole length, but I know that A is actually shorter than that. But A up here shows me 4 inches, and so that's my length. So 4. And then my width is going to be the same for the whole shape. It's going to be this 3 over here, showing how chunky it is. And then my height is 8. So I have 4 by 3 by 8. I know that's different than over here because earlier I was doing it the other way. So I'm going to write this down. A's length times width times height. My length is 4. My width is, oh, I'm wrong, 6, not 3. My height is 8. This is for A. I was looking at the height of the second box. If I cut it like that for B, B's length, I was really getting to me multitasking here. B's length is cut in half right now because it was 10 originally, but I cut that. So now I have, this is 4. So the unknown is going to be 6. So my length is 6. My width is the same. It's still 6. And my height for B is this 3 over here. So I take all of A. I'm like sideways. I take all of A, add them up. I have 48 times 4, 192. We're talking inches cubed. And then on B, I have 36 times 3 is 108 inches cubed. I'm going to take the answer to A and the answer to B and add those two together. So 192 and 108 is 300 exactly. So my answer for 5 is 300 inches cubed. Now I did it the other way. I cut it the other way on paper. Just kind of got me confused for a second. But I cut it, instead of cutting it here, I cut it across. So when I did that, I got some different numbers, but I had 120 and 180 for my A and B, and still when you add that, you're still going to get 300. So it doesn't matter if you cut it and they're side by side or they're stacked on top of each other, you should get 300 inches cubed for your answer. All right. Number 6, what is the product? The answer to a multiplication problem is the product. Where is my rag? Oh, here it is. So we have 1,906 times 58. I will show you the quick and easy way for this one because we're kind of beyond. I know we understand array model and partial products, and we've been doing multiplication all year long. So 6 times 8, 48. I have nothing. There's the 4, 72. 8 and 7 is 15. Then I'm going to get rid of what I carried. Make sure I shift over with an X. Sorry, you cannot see. 5 times 6 is 30. I have the 3, 45. And 5 and 1 is 9. Now I just have to add 8, 4, 5, 10, and 11. I get 110,548. That's going to make sense because I have 2,000 times 60 is 120,000. And if I did 2,000 times 50, I'd have 110. And I'm kind of in between those two answers. So it makes sense. If I did it partial products way, I'll just show you really quick with what I did earlier. That would be this example right here. And I kind of started messing up, so I gave up on it for a second. But I'm just taking each number and multiplying. So I'm doing 6 times 8 is 48. 900 times 8 is 720. And you just keep listing the partial products really long. But they didn't really ask, so I'm just going to do the quick and easy way. Number 7. A baseball team practices 480 minutes each week of the season. The season lasts 12 weeks. So every single week, he's having 480 minutes of practice. And if I have 12 weeks, I can do 480 and add 12 times, or I could just multiply. So I have nothing, 16. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 960. Then I have to shift over. 1 times 0 is nothing. 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 4 is 4. 0, 6. 5,760. My label is minutes. I could check this by taking this total amount and dividing it by 12. And I should get 480 because of inverse operations. Okay, part B. There's 168 players in the baseball league. So that's how many total players there are. And there are 14 players on each team. How many teams are there in the baseball league? So I know some number of teams times 14 people in each team is going to get me my total of 168 players. That makes sense. But I need to figure out how many is that number. So I'm going to take 168, dividing it by the 14 people in a team to find out how many teams there are. So let's do it. 168 divided by 14. I can't do 1, subtract, bring down 2. There's 12 total teams in the league. All right, 2 more. Number 8. Carol uses unit cubes to make the figure shown. What is the volume? So I'll just show you. I'm not going to try to draw this. This is the figure. I know my formula is length times width times height. So my length is 3 long like a snake. The width, how chunky it is from side to side, is also 3. The height from the bottom to the top is 4. So 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 4 is 36 cubic centimeters, or centimeters cubed. So there's 36 cubes there. I could look at the face and see there's 3, 6, 9, 12. And then I see there's 3 layers behind that and do 12 times 3 is 36. That's basically me finding the base, but I'm looking at the side view. I could look at the bottom and see it's 3 by 3, that's 9, that's the base. And look up and there's 4 layers on top, and that'd be 36 as well. We're pretty good with the formula at this point. And the last one. A rectangular shipping crate has a length. I'm going to write the formula. Length times width times height. Length is 5 feet. The width is 4 feet. And the height is 3 feet. Tina uses unit cubes, each measuring 1 foot. So I know my label is going to be feet cubed. Again, I'm going off my thing here. To pack the shipping crate without gaps or overlaps. So what is true? So I see the volume is going to be 20 times 3, which is 60 feet cubed for the answer. So the volume of the crate is 20 cubic feet does not even make sense. That would be maybe the base, but that is false. Emma must use 60 unit cubes to fill the crate. Yep, that's what volume is how many cubes fill it. So that is true. Emma must use 2 layers with 20 cubes in each layer to fill the cube. Well, if I have 2 layers of 20, that's only going to be 40. So that is incorrect. The area of the base is 20. So your area is your length times your width. That's your base. So yeah, that part was 20. Then you took your height into consideration. So that is true. And the volume is 60 cubic feet or feet cubed, and that is also true. So it goes false, true, true. Oh, I lied. I have 2 more. The volume of a rectangular prism is 216 cubic centimeters. So I'm writing my formula, length times width times height, and my answer is 216 centimeters cubed. So I'm working backwards on this one. Its square base, remember the base is your length and your width, is 6 centimeters. So 6 by 6 is your base, the bottom. And the height we're trying to figure out. So 6 times 6 is 36. I'm glaring technology. 36 times some number is going to be 216. Well, inverse operations, guys. 216 divided by 36, if you do the work, is 6. So if you have 6 times 6 times 6, you get 216. So the height is 6. I just did 216 divided by 36. And 6 centimeters. Don't think centimeters cubed because it's not, that's the answer to volume. I'm just trying to find the height. The height isn't 3D. The height is just one length. So it's just centimeters. All right, last question. Chang has partially filled a box with unit cubes. So we see the box here. And he's trying to find out what the volume is. So we know the base is 24. 6 times 4. And we know there's 4 layers. So 24 times 4 is how I would do this. 6 times 4 times 4. 24 times 4 is 96. So you should have 96 inch cubes in this box. I got inches from the label. It's 3D shapes. I could also go from a side view and do 16 times 6, but they're showing me the base, and then they're just saying how many layers on top. So I would do the 24 times 4 to get the 96. All right, I'm hoping to get my big board because that would make it a lot easier. But that was Unit 1 review. I will do Unit 2 review tomorrow. See you guys later.